Hello, this is Meredith Plummer
And Doug Plummer.
for This Place. We're about to discuss the National Underground Railroad Freedom Center.
All right, yes, we went there on Martin Luther King's birthday. So they offer free
Admission.
thank you, on his birthday. So it was quite busy, but it was enjoyable.
Yeah. So we'll jump right in with mobility. Every section of the museum is accessible mobility-wise. I even found that a lot of the exhibits were easy to see, even if you're in a wheelchair, so you don't have to worry about positioning. However, there are no adult changing tables.
No.
The only child changing table we could find was on the first floor, and it didn't even fit our 2-year-old. She was practically falling off of it. So be aware of that.
The other thing is that there's no ramps to get between the 3 different floors, so you have to rely on the 2 elevators. And at least it was quite busy, so we had to wait our turn a few times.
That's true. However, if you need a wheelchair and you don't have one, you can rent one for free. They're first come, first served basis. And they have a number of theaters there, and all of them have accessible seating, cutouts for wheelchairs and strollers.
Yeah, and the movies were all, not too long, so if you did have to stand, it wouldn't be too bad.
So, for mobility, I would give it a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, I'm going with 4 out of 5 too.
So moving on, visual, or people who blind or visually impaired. They had an audio tour at one point, but it required you to download all the audio onto your phone. So they've gotten rid of that. They still have the signs up on their exhibit that say audio tour, but they don't do anything. But they're beta testing a new audio tour that would be more like an app. So if you want to go there and you're blind or visually impaired, keep that in mind. That check in to see if that beta testing is done and if that app is available yet. There are a few buttons.
Yeah, the buttons go with the they have like little snippets of activities, so it'll have like a statue or something, an artifact in front of you, and then it'll have like the button will read off a quote or play a song. It doesn't really give you all the information that's on the placard, but it does give you a little bit more in depth.
And all the buttons have Braille on them, so you should know what they do if you read Braille. There's also not many tactile exhibits. It's a lot of visual.
Yeah.
So know that.
There was a few good, like we said before with the mobility. There are a few theaters, and there are a few exhibits that have small, like, videos to kind of give you an idea what's going on.
They also, the day that we went, they had a lot of docents out, and some of them were really great and really provide a lot of in-depth information. So if you're lucky enough to go on a day where they have a lot of docents, I hope you find them because they were really wonderful.
Yeah, they're usually, they seem to be set up in the main areas. And in the walkthrough about the history of slavery in America, they had a few of them. So you had one at the main entrance that talked you through about 3 or 4 rooms, and then another one that kind of picked up where she left off to the end of the tour. So it was really well. They did a great job.
So I would say if you're blind or visually impaired, I would give the National Underground Railroad Freedom Center probably about a 3 at this point.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, around a 3.
It'll probably go up once they have their audio to it.
Yeah.
So moving on to hard of hearing or deaf.
Yeah. Well, like we said before, it's a very visual place, so you'll be able to read and learn a lot of information. And almost all the videos had closed captioning that I've noticed, both in the theaters and in the small exhibits.
Yeah. So honestly, I feel like the only thing you're going to miss out on if you're deaf or hard of hearing. Oh, you would miss out on some of those places where there's buttons.
Yeah. And
you press a button to hear. But on their website, they say that they do have printout guides that you can take with you. So if you can't hear whatever is being said when you push the button, you can at least read it on those guides.
Yeah.
So we didn't actually do that, so I don't know how well that works, but supposedly the opportunity is there.
Yeah. For deaf, hearing impaired, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, I think so.
Did a really good job. Now for sensory, wow, I'm hitting puberty. No,
Doug's been sick.
Yeah. So for sensory, there was no quiet rooms that they have put off to the side for that, but some, like in the back part of the Slavery in America exhibit, there was a few little houses and rooms that if you were the only one in, it really made it quiet. It kind of cut off all the noise. But I mean, obviously, you can't just use that to calm down. But it is an idea.
Now, I've mentioned before that sometimes I can get overwhelmed by too much stimuli. Probably not to the extent that people with sensory processing disorder do. But, the baseball, when we went to the baseball park, that really overwhelmed me. I did not feel so overwhelmed at the National Underground Railroad Freedom Center. I did feel drained sensory-wise at the end of the day, but I was not itching to get out of certain areas.
Yeah, and to be fair, we went on the busiest day of the year.
Because it was free.
So, since being that, I would think that on a average day, you shouldn't have a problem.
So sensory-wise, it's not overwhelming, but they don't have any places to decompress. I'd give it a 3.
I was going to give it a 4 just because it doesn't have a lot of ambient sound too. So you don't have like music playing in the background all the time and people trying to scream over the music to talk about stuff. So I'm going to go with a 4 out of 5. Mainly because even on a busiest day, it didn't seem too overwhelming.
So our final category is medical. You should know that there is no first aid there. They do have first aid kits, but no first aid area. And it's a lot of walking, as most museums are. So either bring your own wheelchair if you have mobility issues. Plan to get there early and rent one if you have mobility issues. If you're diabetic and you know that a lot of walking can really wear on you, then plan for that.
There was quite a bit of seating. In most of the exhibits, there was at least seating within a room or two. So you didn't have to stand the whole time if you needed to relax. So that's one thing.
So medical.
I'm going to go a 3 out of 5 just because of no room.
I'm with you, 3 out of 5.
Wow. Look at us.
I think that's the fastest we've ever done one.
I know. We talk too long normally. All right. Well, great.
Well, thank you for joining us for a January session of Dis This Place. I'm not sure what we'll do in February. If you have a suggestion for us, please feel free to put it in the comments.
Yeah, and definitely let us know what you think about this one also. What you'd like to see changed, added, subtracted, any of those things. Thank you.
Bye.